So I'm Grant Farnsworth. I'm with the Farnsworth Group. I appreciate the context. It just helps us understand, maybe where to call out certain points versus others, depending on if you're a manufacturer versus a supplier. Our firm is a custom research firm focused exclusively on the building products, home improvement industry. We've been doing this stuff for 30 plus years. We really get at the behaviors of customers, be it pro, be it DIYers. We look at brands, product, market sizing, a number of different factors that play a role into our clients and their success. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some research we've done really over the last 18 months, but in particular a study we just completed in September that looks at changes to contractor and DIY behaviors when we think about their brand preference, channel utilization, and mediums that they're using to get information for our industry and home improvement products. So really, really current data. And it's going to help you get in the mindset of that contractor, of that DIYer, to understand what's important to them, how they're making choices, et cetera, so that you can better prepare your merchandising, your products, your sales, your marketing, et cetera, around today's customer. Cool? So starting with contractors. First and foremost, we asked if contractors are seeing issues with availability. Surprise, surprise, they are. And this is for residential, this is for commercial, this is small contract, this is big contractor. So it is absolutely having an impact on their world. What's interesting, and I think what's really, really important for us to understand in the industry, if you look over here to your right, what did you do when you weren't able to find what you were looking for? They still made a purchase. They found it somewhere. They didn't just stop and wait for it to be in stock. And we'll talk a little bit about what that purchase was a little later. But again, I think this is really, really important. Despite the fact that I'm seeing challenges in finding what I want, it's not stopping me from buying. Project availability. Thought this was really interesting to look at as well. We've got over 50% of contractors that are booked out at least a week. That's pretty significant. Almost 25% that are booked out a month or more. So again, this ability to take on work is limited amongst the contractors. That's going to change how they look at you as a supplier, as a manufacturer. They're going to want more service elements. Help me with my business because I'm slammed, as opposed to, hey, just give me something cheap. Okay? Media. So where are they going to get information? This is a crazy slide. I'm a researcher, so this is what you get. But here's how it works. The bigger the bubble, the higher the purchase incidence. More likely they are to buy that category. Horizontal axis is the frequency of online search and online information capture. Vertical axis is in-store. The scales don't necessarily parallel. We've got them over here. The net of this whole thing is, first and foremost, contractors are researching a lot before they buy anything. The second thing to learn here is they're more likely to research in higher quantities online than they are in store. So think about that. They're going to be doing both, probably more online than in store. So by the time they get to your store, they may have already figured out what they're going to buy, how much they should be paying for it, what it looks like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if that information doesn't align in store and there's a disconnect, you may lose them. Okay? What are they looking for when they're going online? Pricing information. That's always been at the top of the list. Right? So don't bury the lead. They want pricing information. This isn't saying they're looking for the cheapest product. They just want to know what it costs, sales, et cetera. Number 2 on this list is availability. We've never seen it this high. We've been tracking this stuff for years and years and years. Availability is typically in the middle here, maybe down at the bottom. Availability is at the top. This is critical that our industry understands this because it's about communication and transparency right now, even if you don't have product. What product do you have? When will you get the product? Be very upfront with your level of availability and how you can help them even if what they want isn't in stock. That's both for manufacturers and suppliers. Peloton did a killer job at this through COVID. You couldn't get a Peloton bike for 4 to 6 months. Didn't stop anybody from waiting because they were very, they built a loyalty, they built a community, they built an expectation and an excitement around it. They never shied away from the fact, oops, sorry. They didn't apologize. Yeah, we make killer stuff and we're going to make it as fast as we can and we're going to keep you updated on when we're going to get it. Okay? Online sources they're using, they're going back and forth between suppliers and manufacturers. This hasn't changed. They're going to do it. How are you helping them navigate between one and the other? Many years ago, manufacturers used to call the shots. 25 years ago, big box started calling the shots. Today, consumers are calling the shots, whether that's a contractor or DIY. So how are you helping them go through their process the way that they want to go through it? Okay? Amazon you'll see on here as well. A lot of that is going to be for review information, but a lot of it is also due to availability. So we haven't seen Amazon that high before. Okay? What about social media? We get this question a lot. Is social media actually a medium that we can use to get at the pro? Absolutely, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. So the dark bars are their general personal use. Do you have a Facebook account? Do you have a YouTube account? Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. Which of these do you actually use for home improvement building product research? Okay, YouTube is up there. There's a lot of how-tos. If you, whether you're a retailer or manufacturer, check out Simpson Strong Tie. They do a killer job on their YouTube channel. Fast, quick, to the point. A lot of how-tos on there, even for contractors that are becoming important. Okay? Facebook, keep in mind for contractors, a lot of contractors are using Facebook really as their business front. Gone are the 90s and the early 2000s where they're all trying to create a website. Okay? Facebook is oftentimes where they're hosting their portfolio, et cetera. Similar thing on LinkedIn, Instagram. They're looking for product information on a lot of that stuff. But social is becoming more and more a viable tool amongst the pro. What's preferred? These are contractors. So I still love the in-person stuff. Always have and still do. I'm not going to say they always will, but they still do. So that peer-to-peer, colleague-to-colleague, talking to a manufacturer rep, talking to a supplier, still a lot of value in that. But then look at some of these down below. Next 2, 3, 4, they're all digital, right? Dan talked about it earlier, accelerants. It's not that digital is new to the contractor world, but my gosh, I found a way to do business maybe more efficiently, more conveniently, through some digital tools and methods, and I kind of prefer it. One thing we do see making a resurgence, believe it or not, is email. Not that it ever went away, but email is becoming a little bit more powerful, a little bit more successful of a tool as we talk with some of our clients. So what about brands? How is this changing? There's a number of categories that we track in a lot of our research, and again, this was just done in September. So this is looking over the past several months. Have you purchased a new brand in any of these categories? Dark bar is those saying, yes, I have. So in some cases, you've got 30% that have tried a new brand for the first time in the last several months. These are contractors. They are not change agents. I know what I know, I do what I do, and that's how it's going to be. And yet almost a third in some instances have changed and started a new brand. More importantly, this blue bar, will you continue using that new brand? Yeah, probably. So again, whether you're a manufacturer or supplier, this is either terrifying or really exciting. Okay? Why did you try that new brand? Dan said it, it's availability. So this ties back to one of the first slides I showed you when they expressed, yes, I have issues with availability right now. Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm not going to not buy. I'm going to get something. In a lot of cases, it's going to be a new brand that I've never tried before. So it is about availability. And then we see some price attributes here. That's pretty common for why they would historically switch. We've never seen 30% plus of pros switching brands in a given year. It's typically around 10 to 15% and only for a limited group of categories. This is significant, y'all. As suppliers and retailers, this is exactly why we're seeing even bigs, all the way down to independents, start widening their brand assortment, bringing in new vendors. Because they're seeing this data, they're seeing these results. They're understanding that contractors are being satisfied with this new brand. So your left-hand side, how satisfied were you with that new brand? I was actually really satisfied. Again, either terrifying or very exciting, depending on your position in the market. Right-hand side, how well did that new brand perform compared to the brand you're typically used to? It performed just as well or better. Huh. So your customers may not be as loyal to a certain brand as you may think. They may care more about getting a good product right now than sticking with the brand that they've used for the last 10 years. Okay? Exciting? Channel use. Let's look quickly at this. Here is another big shift. Have you tried a new retailer? This is trending over 2020 last year and the research we just did last September. We had even more shift or try a new supplier this year than we did last. This is a crazy high percentage for contractors, y'all. Again, this is usually in the 10-15% range that have tried a new supplier in the last 12 months. Think about that. So this almost reiterates the importance that you better find a way to service their needs. If you don't have the product in stock, how are you helping them out? Are you bringing in other vendors, et cetera? Because they are willing to move, and they have been. Why? I had to get product. And yes, there's always price stuff, but I had to get product. Oh, what about this? This guy's doing online stuff, and I kind of like that now. So I'm moving my business over there. All right? How does this look going from last year to this year as far as the share picture? And this is broad stroke. It's going to change when you think about categories. It's going to change when you think about the type of trade. But here's what we saw last year, right? Amazon, a good little jump with contractors. This online component. Last year, a deficit when we think about some of the LBMs, because a lot of them were closed. Farm and ranch stores, some of them were closed. They weren't necessity, right? They weren't allowed to stay open. This year, what do we see? A little bit of a retreat on Amazon. Okay, I can go back to my specialty supplier. I can go back to my hardware store. I can go back to some of those channels that I used to use. Okay, so a little return to what I would say is more pre-pandemic share picture. However, that doesn't mean that they're going in-store only now. Great, doors are back open. It's all in-store. Internet's dead. It's a fad. Nope. In-store has returned. In-store is very important. It will remain very important, but not at the cost of online. So all of these colored bars at the top are online purchase behaviors, how they actually made the buy from that channel. Check out some of these on the right. LBMs, specialty suppliers, 30% plus buying product online. This is how they are doing business, and it's sticking. We get this question all the time. What's sticking? What's sticking? Is it going to stick? Is it going to stick? It's been 18 months. There's now repeat purchases. There's data in POS that are showing repeat purchases from contractors and DIY online. It's sticking, y'all. So as a manufacturer, as a supplier, if you haven't figured out this riddle, you better. It's also another reason, as Dan talked about, there's a lot of M&A going on right now with a lot of independent selling. It's so they can build a big, huge conglomerate that can compete with the orange box and the blue box when it comes to logistics, online, all these services that can cost a lot, but it's important, okay? In-store purchases, so this is what I'm saying. Here's percent of in-store purchases, 2019 all the way through to this past September, and you can see we've declined in-store, come back maybe a little bit in some areas, but it still hasn't bounced back the way that we might have expected it now that all the doors are open. It doesn't mean that they aren't shopping at these places. It's, again, about the mix of in-store versus online. Okay? In-store is still very, very important. In a lot of cases, though, it's a reiteration to what they've already seen online, found online, et cetera. Cool? I know I'm moving quickly. I'll try to hold time for some questions at the end. I'm going to go through the same type of data, but this is now for DIYers. Okay? So first and foremost, are DIYers experiencing availability? Even DIYers are saying, yes, I am, but not to the degree that contractors are. And this makes sense. DIYers aren't doing as much work, aren't doing as many projects. It's not as critical of a nature as contractors, but yet they are still experiencing some availability issues. Like contractors, what do they do when the product is unavailable? Well, I'll go to a different supplier, I'll order it. Only 14%. So more than contractors, but it's still only 14% of DIYers are simply saying, I'm not going to do anything. So availability is not preventing purchases from happening. Has it delayed any of your projects? We think about availability, we think about costs. Moderate here. 36% saying, yeah, a few project delays. Over half saying, no, no project delays. So again, this is a concern for DIYers. It's a concern for homeowners, and they're going to be looking to suppliers, they're going to be looking to manufacturers to help them with this challenge. Well, when can I expect the product? Am I going to be putting this off till next weekend or next month? So again, that level of transparency on availability is really, really critical. I think a lot of our clients and a lot of suppliers, et cetera, just assume they got to throw their hands up in the air and say, well, I don't have it. There's nothing I can do. I don't have it. That's not the case. Think about ways you can communicate message and build that service and trust with the customer. On the cost side, have you had any delays because of costs? Again, similar picture here. We're seeing cost challenges with the DIYers arise, some putting off projects simply because they're a little bit scared of the price of goods right now. I don't blame them, even though they're coming down. And let's look at media. So what are they using? Well, like contractors, they're going online as well. So again, this bottom is how much online research are they doing before purchase. Vertical is how much in-store are they doing before a purchase. And you'll see kind of a similar pattern. Overall, just like contractors, they're doing more online research than they are in-store, but they're doing a good mix of both almost across any category we look at. The other thing that's really important to look at when you think about categories is the higher price point, more durable categories are getting more overall research done before the purchase. Lower price point, more commodity oriented, less total research being done. So again, think about that and how you develop your strategies depending on what categories you either make, or what categories you're trying to sell, et cetera. Okay, because there is a direct correlation between durability and price point and how much research is being done. But overall, online is still, it's critical. So how is your in-store world matching your online world? We talk to a lot of our clients, and we hear a lot of them still reference so much e-commerce. Our stance is there is no e-commerce. There's just commerce. And if you're still separating these worlds and pitting them against each other, everyone's probably going to lose. It is one ecosystem now, more than ever. Okay? What are they doing online? Similar to contractors. So yes, of course, they're looking for price shopping. They're more interested in some product information, product reviews than contractors. Keep in mind, these are DIYers, so in some cases, I'm doing this project, I'm buying this product for the first time, so I need some validation, I need some warm fuzzies. But even DIYers are looking for availability. Again, this is well over-indexed compared to what we'd see in prior years. Okay? But a lot of product information, pricing information. I will tell you, when we think about online sources, Amazon does jump up. A lot of that is the review piece. Certainly they're shopping there, but Amazon does a great job with the reviews. Certainly home improvement sites, manufacturer sites, so again, they're going back and forth, they're going to multiple locations. Don't shy away from it, lean into it. How can you help out? If you're a manufacturer, here's our product, and then here's a link to buy it within 2 clicks. Right? If you're a supplier, hey, here's a great video on this product that you're looking at, here's how to install it, here's how it works, here's the applications, et cetera. Okay? Social media. So here's what's interesting. It's not being used as much for home improvement and product research as the contractors. But YouTube is being used quite heavily, particularly amongst younger DIYers. How-tos. These are folks that are new in the game, and the way they learn is different than the way our parents or grandparents might have learned to do something. It's not someone leaning over your shoulder telling you what you're doing wrong the whole time. It's a YouTube video giving them the confidence that they need to give them the belief that they can install a wood floor. So pretty much all of these, and you'll see some of these notes here, are elevated quite a bit as the generations get younger. But YouTube in particular, huge source for how-tos. And this is great for suppliers, it's great for manufacturers. Both are putting out some really strong content on that. Check out Rust-Oleum. On the DIY side, if you haven't looked at the Rust-Oleum kind of project how-tos that they have online, I mean, they're cranking them out. They're 30 seconds, they're 1 minute, they're Halloween, they're Christmas, they're, whatever the case may be. A lot of companies that are doing really good things on the YouTube front that are meeting customer needs. Okay? What is their preferred method? And these are DIYers. This is where we see email jump up. I mentioned it with contractors. So it's not that email ever went away, but we, I think, got really creative and fancy with some social, and let's try this. Email's kind of making a comeback, a little bit more reliable and dependable. Certainly a preferred method for DIYers. And then you've got some of the in-person piece, particularly for those that are newer into the home improvement game. And then mobile, apps, et cetera. Traditional stuff, touch feel is still there. But again, if that's your only arrow, you might be missing. Okay? So let's look at brand use for DIYers. Not as much shift. Got to be careful every time I say that. Shift does happen, but one letter out, and I could be in trouble. So there is shift with DIYers as well when we think about brands. It's not as much as we see with contractors. Why is that? They're not buying as much. These are first-time buyers as well. So we had a higher percent saying, well, I don't have a normal brand. Ah, cool, I got it. Okay? But there is still a good amount of shift happening across categories. DIYers, however, are even more steadfast in saying, I would continue to use that brand, absolutely. So again, it's either really exciting or terrifying. Why did they try that new brand? More price and quality plays here, right? But number 4 is still about availability. So top things, price, quality, those are traditional attributes that customers are going to be looking for, typically key drivers in some form or fashion. That availability piece is creeping up. Okay? They're satisfied. These new brands, completely satisfied with the new brand that they're trying. Right? So if you think the brands that you have on your shelves that you've had there for the last 15 years are just going to blow the minds of DIYers and they never try anything new, there's no way they can be satisfied with any other brand, wrong. Flat out wrong. If you're a manufacturer and you think that, nope, our company loves us, or our customers love us, they always have for the last 10 years, there's no way they'd be as happy with another brand as they are with our brand. Wrong. Sorry. But odds are against you. Okay? You've got almost over 90% that are saying, yeah, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with that new brand. Right? And the performance. Again, you've got almost 100% saying it's at least as good as what I used to use. So at best, the former brand is competitive. Okay? Channel use. So here's where we look at some shift on channel as well. Not as high with the DIYers as it was contractors. Again, they're purchasing less. They're engaged less than contractors are. But we still see some shift, pretty flat from last year to this year. And why did they shift? Simply because of availability. Price is on there, yes, but this availability play is real. And how does this look when we think about what channels they're going to? Well, this is where we see a little bit more variance than the contractor data. Certainly a big jump last year with Amazon, but that's retreated, right? Last year, Amazon was taking away quite a bit from everybody, really. This year, they've given it back. This is for home improvement products. So this isn't the entire world of all CPG and tech and whatever else. This is home improvement products. So a lot of those gains that Amazon made, from a share standpoint, and this is asking, okay, great, of all the home improvement products you purchased, what percent came from each of these, right? Amazon's given it back, and they've given it back to where they stole it, primarily in the boxes. Okay? In-store is important. It's not dead, but online is not going away with DIYers either. More importantly, Gen Y, the millennials, in some cases, 30 to 60% of their home improvement purchases are made online, versus boomers who may be around 10, 15%. So huge discrepancy, and think about your audience. Huge discrepancy in who's going online and how much. The younger the generation, surprise, surprise, the more they're buying online, okay? That's really, really important for you all to recognize, because it can dictate what you're promoting, how you're promoting, what's in shelf, what's online, okay? In-store, again, continue to beat that horse. Black is 2019, so pre-pandemic. This is share of all purchases being in store. We saw it obviously retreat in 2020. Coming back a little bit this year, not to the degree that it was, and a lot of this coming back, I can tell you, is the older generations. Boomers are just steadfast in-store buyers. They're habitual, that's how they know. Okay? So with that, I'm going to touch on some industry forecasts. We just looked at all these behaviors. Dan touched on some great numbers on the retail side of things, sales numbers, all that good stuff. So what do we think this means for our world? Well, I'm going to show a bunch of slides that are going to make you blurry here, but I'm going to try to explain them. This is the overall incidence of homeowners planning a DIY project within that given quarter. Far right-hand side is Q2 of this year, or Q3 of this year. So what do we see? Just visually as you look at this, the intent to do project work is still really, really strong. There was a massive amount of discussion last year of what? This is all pull forward. Is everyone just DIYers can do all the stuff that they're planning to do for the next 5 years, and they're doing it all in 2020, and sales are going to be garbage. The intent is still there. And this has a lot to do with how homeowners are now viewing their home. The types of space they need, the way they want to live, health concerns, etc. So there is a lot of focus on the home. Plus, there's really, really low home inventory. So if I want something different, I can't just pick up and move because I really don't have a house near me that's available. And if it is, I'm not paying that. So I'm going to continue to work on the house that I have. It might be my only option. Oh, and by the way, I've got a boatload of equity in it too. Okay? Holy cow, I'm not even going to look at this. That's a bunch of year-over-year stuff that if you want to take a picture of that, knock yourself out. If you can make sense of it, I'll buy you dinner. All this is looking at is percent changes year over year, right? And so while we do see some decrease in 2021 over 2020, it's coming back more into normalcy as opposed to necessarily being deficient in any one category. So that's to say that all this planning here is really across a variety of categories. We don't see anything necessarily falling off the cliff. So, housing starts forecast. Slow and steady. We do a lot on the new residential side as well. I know, with this show particularly, it's a lot of existing home sales, but Housing starts are still a big, big thing for our industry. Accounts for about a fifth of the homes to a sixth of the homes that are out there, right? Slow and steady, a lot of this is due to availability. Builders wish they could be building faster, wish they could be building more, but the availability of product, the availability of labor just certainly won't allow them to do that. There's some pricing challenges, obviously, they're facing as well, not just with labor and materials, but also with land. So growth is happening, and I can tell you demand is there. When you look at population demographics, and I can geek out on all that stuff for a while if we wanted to, but the demand is there. The ability to meet that demand isn't. So that's going to result in some sustained growth on the new housing side, which I believe is really, really good. I think if we had this hockey stick, that would make us really, really nervous. Okay. Remodeling side of things, this is Harvard's leading indicator of remodeling activity. A new one just came out yesterday and is still very positive. I'm going to tell you where we believe the remodeling growth is going to be coming from. So this is existing home, if you would think about it that way, right? Prior was new home, this is existing home activity. So real positive. I mean, even getting into 2022, still projecting growth. Product-wise, this is from the Home Improvement Research Institute, HERE. It's a great member-driven nonprofit that our firm, the Farnsworth Group, manages. They work with IHS Markit to put together a product revenue forecast for both consumers and pros. This is the consumer piece. What we'll see here as we start getting into 2022, growth is flat to very minimal on the consumer side. Now, that's year-over-year growth. So we still aren't seeing this fall off a cliff because we had a year and a half of strong gains. It's still just kind of leveling off. Okay? Not huge growth on the consumer side, but when we think about the pro side, this is where we believe the growth in our industry is going to come from. Not only because of new construction, but especially because of existing home remodels and home improvement. Okay? Growth more from pros than DIY. The demand is there. Keep in mind we had about 5 to 6 months last year where everyone stopped their home improvement projects with pros. They didn't want them in the house. They couldn't find them, and. So there's pent-up demand we're trying to get caught up with. There's new demand. There's new homeowners coming in. A lot of opportunity on the pro side of our world as we look at the forecast for the next few years. That is all I have. I know I covered a lot. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's my contact information. Feel free to visit our firm's website as well. If you go to that website at the bottom, thefarnsworthgroup.com/COVID, you can sign up. We've got monthly data that comes out and updates on contractors, DIYers, and DIFM on a variety of categories and topics. But I hope that was helpful just to give you a little bit of mindset on behaviors and what's going on with both pros and homeowners today to help you in your business. So thanks again for the time, y'all. Appreciate it.